Okay, so let's see if this one works now. I have started a new stream and let's see if this one works because at the moment I do not know why it didn't work the first time. I have no idea. Let me just see if I can get Abu on here. Type this thing in here. There we go and see if this one works now. Okay, welcome everybody to the Gin&Tonic Show, and this time I can see something. This is the big difference. And we are starting without any thumbs down. That's a new one. Because in the previous one that I tried, the beginning of the show, we already had a couple of thumbs down. Oh, like now we have a thumbs down. So it's quite funny that we haven't even started. All I've said is, welcome to the Gin&Tonic Show. And already somebody dislikes it. Brilliant. I love it. So nice. Okay. So let me try this again. What we're doing today is because Rob's on the road and we had an Aussie special on Tuesday. What we're going to do today is just try interaction and try and connect with as many people as possible. So if anybody has any questions, then we'll take those a little bit later. What I'm going to try and do right now is to go to the crazy comments for half a minute or something like this, and we see what we can do with that. So let me see if this works now.
You're muting yourself.
Around, thank you.
Your doppelganger is here.
I was just going to say, hey, why am I here twice? Oh, are you also logged in as a Gin&Tonic Show?
Yeah, I don't know. I tried that and it worked.
Oh, hello, Gin&Tonic Show.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go through some of the comments, and the first one you see here, it starts off with awesome guy tan. I've drawn something here for some odd reason. How can I switch this off again? How can I erase this? No, I don't want this up. I want to do. Can I clear? There we go. So the first comment is, I don't know why tan really ruffles some feathers when he is in the park. It seems that his attitude, his confrontative attitude, is something that a lot of the Muslim apologists in the Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park can't handle. Now, I have a clip where he, and this is too great, where he is standing in front of people who are being, no, he watches people as they are praying. This is the funny thing. And then somebody comes to him and tries to pull him away. In the end, a cop has to come and take him away from there because Muslims are so riled up now because he is being totally provocative by standing in front of them, right in front of them, while they are praying. And they can't handle that for some reason. Now, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If they want to pray in public in the park, then this is the kind of reaction that they can expect. So I don't think there's anything, absurd about this. It is provocative, absolutely. But so awesome guy tan. But this very quickly changes because suddenly we have tan fuck off. Because now a lot of people are voicing their opinion on what they really think of our Malaysian friend here, who is just a tourist who's working temporarily in the UK and thinks this is good fun to go to the park and enjoy something called free speech because you can't do this in Malaysia. Okay, then the next comment is, I'm from Malaysia. This monkey tan, also from Malaysia. So rude, this guy. Okay. No relevant statement on his speech, just streaming like a dog, no solution, stupid and stupid, keep away from him. None of this is true, okay? Number one, he's not a monkey, he's an ape, or type of ape. I don't know why Abu Bakr or a lot of these Muslim apologists can't understand that we are a type of ape and not a type of a monkey. I don't know why this is so difficult to understand. So Tan is not rude. Absolutely not. He's just using he's using free speech to voice his opinion. This is what you call freedom of expression. And I think he's being quite clever about it because the way that he holds the sign, which has really provocative statements on it, if you think about it, is actually quite clever. So no relative statement on his speech, absolutely relevant. Absolutely. Just screaming like a dog. No, he's not screaming like a dog. He's actually very much on point, and this is exactly what he wants. Let's find a solution. Let's find a way out of this, because obviously Islam does not fit into the 21st century. So let's see if we can fix this. This is supported by another guy, the Waarheid. Enough talk time to give this man what he's searching for full in the face. Stand up. The brother is right. They're oppressing Muslims worldwide. Really, really. So Muslims I don't know, in Switzerland, in Luxembourg, in wherever they're being oppressed. I mean, are Muslims in Qatar, in anywhere, in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in Oman, are they all being oppressed?
They are being oppressed by their corrupted ruler that are not ruling with God's Sharia.
Well, so, all right. So why go to Tan? Do you think Tan is going to fix that? Tan is going to get rid of Assad or something so that Muslims can take over? And if then Muslims take over,
Assad is a kafir, but
yeah, but who's the right Muslim? Who is the guy who is really going to represent the Muslims the way that they want to be represented?
Good question.
So this is the point that Muslims in general don't seem to understand, that even when Islam takes over, you are not going to have peace and unity. Then the real problems are going to start. Because I remember we had this in South Africa as well, where we said, okay, we need to get rid of apartheid. And then people said, okay, but replace it with what? And then ANC came along and said, well, we are the strongest, so we're going to take over. And then somebody said, well, hang on, what about the Bantus? What about the vendors? What about the Xhosa? What about all the others? They also have a right to do that. And this is where the problem started. And this is where, at the moment, you don't have any kind of unity in South Africa at all. So this is the same problem that you have in other countries, where in Bahrain, for example, which in itself is actually quite, I mean, they've got the Formula One on there now, which is in itself quite a peaceful place. But Muslims are being oppressed there, like they are in any other country on the planet. So it is correct, but they are mostly being oppressed by other Muslims. And this is what most Muslims don't understand. Okay, then we have Tan tells the truth. And there you go. So, but then I would imagine Kadenia, I don't know where she would come from. With a first name like Esther. Well, anyway, but this is the way that it is. There's nothing that Tan says that is not right. Is it true Al-Ghazali said all Alawites? I don't know if Al-Ghazali said that Alawites should be killed.
Alawites, most ulama makes takfir on Alawites.
But are they considered Muslims or not?
No.
Is it like Ahmadiyya?
I think they're even Shias that make takfir on Alawites. They have so weird aqidah.
They also have a guy, a leader who is like only like 200-300 years old, right? I don't know much about them, I must admit.
No.
Okay, if we're speculating, then it doesn't help. All right, then let's go to the next one. Bruce Lee, racist Muslim scumbag. Well, calling somebody Bruce Lee is not necessarily a race. Just because Bruce Lee was from China and he was famous and a great actor and things like that, I don't think that somebody is being a racist saying he's like Bruce Lee just because his heritage is Chinese. I wouldn't consider this as racist. Tan is talk like rubbish. Oh, this is the same Abu Bakr. Tan is talk like rubbish. Tan is talk like.
You're muting yourself.
Yeah, I had to cough. I don't know. I'm not used to talk. I need to take a sip of water. I don't see any logical statement. Well, that's not what it says there. Just scream like a dog, like a pig. However, maybe he always eat a pig. Yeah. And this shows how primitive this is, okay? Because just because he says something they don't like, they go on about him and call him, maybe he always eat a pig, scream like a dog. You know, this is what I always. Well, no, I don't want to generalize. This is
Tan
if
talk
somebody makes a
rubbish.
comment like this is
Tan
so
talk.
ridiculous and
Tan is
useless.
talk like rubbish. I don't see any logic statement. Just scream like dog, like a pig. However, maybe always eat a pig.
And this is so ridiculous because you're not helping. Okay, Mr. Abu Bakr, if you have, I don't know, some sort of opinion on what somebody else says, tell us what. No, this is general. Go and say what it is that you don't like. Say why you don't like it. Say what you would like and why whatever it is not to be liked is a reason not to like something, or give us the reason why you don't like something and what would be better. That is what you call constructive criticism. That would be much better. Okay, then we have laugh like experience. Tan, you're one mess up kid. Need real help, and people who likes you are high on drugs. No, I think in a lot of times Tan is totally useless. So I don't condone everything he does, and I don't do it automatically. But there's a lot of things which he says which are really true, and he knows how to put his finger in it, and it hurts, and that's it. So that he does not lie. He does not say anything that is not true, and okay, you could use a different way of doing it, but that's his style, and that's it. I mean, why are you going to discriminate someone based on their style? So okay, and then Mazakhan says we need to be like the aggressive brother with people like Tan, etc. It is enough. Far too long. We've tried with we've tried with softness to explain the message, to explain how the terrorists don't represent Islam, how other religions have shed far more blood of Muslims and other non-Muslims, but still the media and others spread lies against Islam, against the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We should not be violent, but we need to be aggressive in our speech with such nonsensical individuals. Okay, much better. This is somebody who actually gives a reason. So, Mr. Abu Bakr, look at this. This is much better because he is saying that terrorists don't represent Islam. So, this is the thing that he does not like, that people are generalizing and somehow equating terrorism with Muslims and vice versa. And he says it doesn't represent Islam, and he makes the claim that other religions have shed more blood of Muslims and of other Muslims than Islam has, and the media and others spread lies against Islam. Okay, there we go. And the way out of this is, yes, we should not be violent, but we need to be aggressive in our speech with nonsensical individuals. So this is good criticism. It's wrong, okay? It's like really wrong. But the thing is that it makes a lot of sense. So from a formal or formalistic point of view, very nice. I like this, even though it's wrong. Now, why is it wrong? Because he says terrorists don't represent Islam. Well, unfortunately, they do. And this is the problem that we have with Islam and the 21st century, that the two don't gel. So Islam doesn't work in the 21st century because it requires some sort of reform of the Quran. Like I said last time, we need to reform the Quran. You can't have these things. It's so full of mistakes. It's so full of hogwash. It's so full of absolute nonsense that we need to change it. And if we don't change it, it's just going to continue dying, and that's it. So at the moment, it just doesn't work. So terrorists do represent Islam. And the funny thing is, what people always forget is that, for example, the leader of ISIS, ISIL, Daesh, whatever you want to call him, IS, he's got a PhD in Islam. Okay, so this guy knows Islam inside out, just like any like Yasser Qadi or like what's this other funny guy? It doesn't matter. Like any of these guys. And he makes a lot more sense than some idiot like Zakir Naik. Now, he represents Islam. This is what he says. I want to be the caliph. I represent the majority of Muslims, and therefore I'm going to start the Islamic State. Now, he failed and he went overboard and blah, 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 but you can't say that this is not Islam. Okay? The next claim is that Muslims have not shed as much blood as others. Now, this is I don't understand why. We all know the figure of 270 million. We all know that it is substantiated by numbers, by data. We don't know how accurate it is. But this is a number that we can work with. We can now look at the details. But this is a number that you just have. You have the number of 270 million victims through Islam. Now, we can talk about this, sure. But is there anything that comes anywhere near this? No. So how can you say that other religions have shed far more blood than Islam? I don't understand this. Even if we talk about the details and we reduce it, let's say we take 70 million off, we're still looking at 200 million. We're still way beyond what anybody else has done. Look at Islam. Can you show me any time period where there was no warfare within Islam? No. So I don't know whether this, okay, I don't think the claims made here are correct. But I like that he says we should not be violent, but we need to be aggressive in our speech. Absolutely. No problem. Just go and say, okay, you are saying that this is so substantiated. Let's talk about the data. Let's talk about the facts and see what happens. Absolutely. Okay. So this is what I have come up with. How do I now go out of this? Because now for some odd reason, I need to find... Okay, I will do this later if we're talking about something. So, could the Quran, Muslim prayers, and Hadith be considered hate speech? Yes, absolutely. Because if you look at what it says, any, let's call it European country today, for example, will not go past equality, gender equality. So this is one of the milestones that we have. And if you take a look at now the way that the Quran is written, there is no way that you can get any kind of equality within the Quran. And I'm not even talking about whether you can beat your wife and that you can have, you know, she's like tilth, so you can have sex with her. She needs to be ready all the time and absolutely and constantly. I'm not even talking about that. But it can be considered hate speech if you look at the way that it is worded. And it doesn't help if apologists say, but this is only for self-defense purposes and things like that. It's still hate speech if it says don't take Christians and Jews as your friends. Now, I hate speech. I hate the term hate speech. I don't think there is such a thing as hate speech. I think we should do away with this hate speech. I think we should be able to say if I hate something because it means I hate something. And I am entitled to hate some things. We can't just go and say, we're going to do away with the word hate and pretend everything is lovey-dovey and we don't hate anything. That doesn't work.
The problem with hate speech laws is
Speakers go on a million stories of how they love the fact that they live like that medieval... Okay, this is the other thing. Muhammad is considered to be the idol and the role model even today. And this is the problem. Because if you look at the way that Muhammad lived, then there is nothing that I would associate with a role model here. Because he was the person who raped, who enslaved, who killed, who tortured, and blah, blah. This is not a role model for today. Now, we can debate whether this person ever existed and whether what is attributed to him is really something that happened. But for me, what is telling is that we have the secondary texts which are being considered by Islamic scholars as being authentic and really worth following. Then if I look at that, then there's no discussion. So this is something that we need to appreciate. It's being taken as authentic. And now what I find interesting is that people say, Well, Aisha wasn't 9 and she wasn't 6. No, no, no. She was much older. So that tells me that the morality of Muslims is very similar. And I think Abu also did made some. I mean, on your talks, this comes across all the time, that this morality that Muhammad was displaying in the 7th, 8th, whatever century, is not the morality that Muslims have today.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Can I comment just before this on the hate speech laws?
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Because the hate speech laws are the problem with them, that there's no consistency. There's no, like, if you want to make a good law, that law has to be clear to everybody. It has to be clear, like, this is the kind of behavior you can do inside the law, and if you go outside the law, you do this and this and this. The problem is that they never do that. But if you would say, for example, you're not allowed to say this group should be killed or something like that, then it would be very clear. The thing is that they are always for the kind of political ideologies that they don't like, and sometimes they don't like them for good reasons. But however, they just interpret everything to be a hate speech law. So, for example, here in Scandinavia, there are some people that are trying to make like old, like Norse mythology symbols into some kind of hate speech. So if you wear I don't know, a Thor's hammer or something like that, then that's considered to be hate speech, despite that it is a religious symbol. But if you're in the Qur'an, for example, says فَإِذَا سَلَخَ الْأَشْهُرُ الْحُرُمُ فَاقْتُلُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَيْثُ وَجَدتُمُوهُم, and when the forbidden months are over, so kill the pagans wherever you find them, then that is not hate speech law. So both are religious, have some kind of religious origin, but there's no consistency, and one is not even a incitement of violence, just a symbol of an old god. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're gonna have laws, they have to be consistent. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, make the next comment. Should you put an 18 certificate on Islamic scripture?
18 that you have to be 18 years old to read it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, we just have to get rid of this kind of, like, come on, like our nanny states are treating people like we're babies. Like, come on. Like, people must be allowed to, even children should be allowed to read whatever text they want, and it's just words. Okay, it's not gonna, like, we're just making things worse by this, the way we're treating things like this.
Okay.
No, but there's even Steven Pinker has this argument that, like a lot of kind of the alt-right like stuff that you see now is like a result of putting them under some kind of, like, you're forbidding, you're not allowing like diversity of opinions, or certain opinions gets shut down from the kind of the common debate, and then what happens is that they grow and like gain a kind of authority just by being forbidden. So you're making the situation even worse by, like,
Restricting it.
yeah, restricting it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is why we should tell people, yes, we have such a thing as the Quran and blah, blah, blah. We should just educate them. This is why I think Islam classes in schools should be allowed, because this is the way that you can educate people on what is what, and not leave it to the media, not leave it to the back channel narrative so that hardly anybody can go and verify what is what. Because whatever you pick up in the street, whatever you pick up like on a school bus or something, is hardly going to be valid. It's not going to be qualified. It's not going to be anything that you can, that is being substantiated. And there, I think, no, we should actually go and interest people in Islam and get them educated on what the facts are. So, yeah. What is the meaning of true Islam? There is no such thing as true Islam. Let me make, hang on, can I do this? What does that look like?
Handsome man.
Yeah, Ike did this one. I thought this is brilliant. Anyway, so because then we don't get irritated between you and me, who is what.
I am Patricia Crona's book.
What is? Oh, I can't see the title of this.
No, it's Mech and Trade.
Okay.
I thought maybe I could read the introduction if someone. It's not that long. But we can do that later.
The way that I explain it, or the analogy that I have created, is I say this is like the Matterhorn. If I take a Muslim and I put him on one side of the Matterhorn, and I take another Muslim and put him on the other side, the one is going to tell me it's vertical on the left and gradual slope on the left, on the right, and on the other side, the guy is going to tell me the exact opposite. Now, if I put a guy on the left, he's going to tell me, well, it's a vertical wall 2 kilometers high. If I put another guy on the opposite side, he's going to say, no, it's actually a gradual slope which goes all the way to the top. So in other words, even though 4 people are describing the same identical thing, they are saying completely different things. And this is why there is no such thing as the Islam. That's why there is no such thing as the Muslim. Everybody, and this is the problem, because the primary text, the Quran, which is the basis of the entire ideology, is vague and ambiguous. And because it is so incredibly vague and so incredibly ambiguous, every single sentence requires interpretation of some sort and some depth. And this is why everybody interprets it slightly differently. And this is why it is different. So one Muslim will say it's totally peaceful, and the other one say it's totally violent. This is why you have these extremes, these opposites. So there is no such thing that you can say this is Islam. And you can't say Islam is peace, and you can't say Islam is violent, because both are wrong and both are correct. And it's I always imagine if you have the mountain in the middle, and you have like a billion people standing around it in a circle. And if you ask a Muslim to explain what they see, and the person next to them will have a slightly different version of what they are looking at. So if you go across all the 1 billion Muslims around this mountain, you will always get a different opinion. And this is why there's no such thing as the Islam and the Muslim. Abu, you have anything on that?
No, like there are more or less plausible interpretations of the Quran and the Sunnah that I can say, but it's hard to like say since it's so vague and so on. It's hard to definitely say this is Islam. I like to use this like my simile with set theory, that you have a larger set of what like plausible or more or less, or you have the larger set of what people contribute to Islam, and then within that larger set you have like the smaller sets like Salafi Islam, and within the set of Salafi Islam you have like the set of Al-Qaeda, and you have the set of Madkhali and so on. So that's how I see it.
Yeah. Okay, GP, I need to go back a little bit because I wasn't watching the chat all the time. You'll find that anyone here hates what the Prophet did to others during his life and the religious book. That's exactly the point. You can hate certain things. And then the law is clear. It's our understanding of the law that's the problem. I don't think the law is clear, because we need to appreciate it. In the Quran, the law is that it says you need to somehow clean yourself, and you can use water or sand or whatever. It doesn't tell you how many times, it doesn't tell you how, it doesn't tell you what should be included. It just gives you some examples. The real the real voodoo ritual is then explained in the hadith. But the problem here is that you have different people writing different stories. So now you need to pick and choose from the Quran what you want, and then you need to pick from the hadith what you want. So I don't think that any of the laws are 100% clear. So you always need to apply human understanding. This is what we said with the fractions. Yeah, they are very clear. So if the daughters get 2/3, it says 2/3. But if you go and apply it, it doesn't work. It's wrong. It's a mistake in the Quran. So this is why then Muhammad has to go in the hadith and modify this. And then what Muhammad modifies is then being interpreted again by the scholars, who still can't get it right. And this is why you have the inheritance calculators today in the 21st century. So after 1,000 years, we're doing something very different than what the Quran says, very different what the Hadith say, very different from what the scholars said. So today it's totally different what you do in the inheritance sector than what is prescribed in the Quran. So the law is very clear in some instances where it says, yeah, the daughters, if there's more than two, they receive 2/3 of the inheritance, but then it doesn't work. So we're seeing something completely different. So it's very difficult to say what law is clear and what can be applied. The followers of Islam are okay as long as they don't behave like Muhammad. That's also, yeah, that's a very interesting thing. Islam is actually made worse through the hadiths. Or the ahadith. I don't know whether to use ahadith. This is true.
Actually, a hadith is probably correct here, because like the plural.
Ike.
What?
Ike is always using this.
Yeah. We miss Ike, so I'm doing this in the spirit of Ike. But hadith is probably correct here. Actually, I often say a hadith, but since there are so many hadiths, the plural here actually becomes hadith in Arabic.
Oh, I thought a hadith is the plural.
Yeah. A hadith is plural, but since there are thousands of a hadith in Arabic, too many plurals you go back to the original.
Okay, yeah, of course, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but that's actually just grammar.
Anyway, but this is the point that yes, as long as you don't behave like Muhammad, you are actually. This is why. Remember, I said when we were talking about Qur'an, is that they are actually more honest. This is what I feel. I feel that if you are following the Quran only, then this is a lot more honest and a lot more peaceful than going for what Muhammad did. 270 million killed by Muslims includes which countries? No, this is worldwide. This is worldwide over 1,000 years. Raj, why are Indians Uncle Toms? Okay, this is you still haven't defined an Uncle Tom, John. I think it was just Indians. No. GP Sandy not on
Twitter. Is he a Muslim, this John Peter, or is he a Christian, or what is he? It's not a Muslim name. John Peter.
Oh, okay. Well,
this is just an Islamophobia channel. Pathetic haters.
I support the right to say and offend and be challenged. GP abso-fucking-lutely. Oh, here, Ike is here. Ike, what's it like seeing yourself on the screen here? I get on fair play. I will. Is it child abuse to make a kid learn the Quran by heart and then keep learning it at the cost of his studies, etc.? Is it child abuse? I think it is child abuse to tell a kid that a fairy tale book is to be taken as truth. That is what I think is abuse. Just to make a kid learn some poems and make the kid learn something by heart, I don't think that's abuse. No, as long as you don't go and I don't know, torture the kid if it makes a mistake, because this is the problem. In a lot of madrasas, if the kids make a mistake, they are beaten severely. This is the negative thing. But other than that, no, not really.
I think John Peter want us to make love with him.
I'm not.
That's
I need
what
to
he
catch
wants.
up with him. So he here is supporting the white cause, and what is the white cause? Yeah, this is. I will not understand this. Okay, I don't know why. Somebody said that because I'm from South Africa, I must automatically be um, some sort of a apartheid, racist, whatever, white supremacist, and
Like
I'm not.
Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, no, but that's different again. The thing is that I'm actually, and I'm surprised. I don't really know where that comes from. I don't know why I am not that, but I am actually colorblind. I really do not care. I don't notice it. If I'm working with somebody, or maybe this is exactly why, because I've been working all my life in multicultural environments and multicultural teams. I've always been in countries where I've worked with 10, 20 different nationalities. So maybe that's why I don't know.
Ike says, finally Abu's coming out on the Gin and Tonic show.
Okay, so I don't understand what the white cause is. I don't understand white supremacy. I don't understand any of that. Lesbians supporting the white cause is an Uncle Tom. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it? Supporting Tommy Robinson's right to read Martin Samuel's speech, a big Uncle Tom. Yeah, that's not even worth commenting. What is the white cause? Let's leave that to others. There's been a lot just in the 20th century. Free speech, a white cause. Of course, yes. Only whites are allowed to have free speech. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Lesbianism, a white cause. Yeah, well, free speech. Islam school classes stops with dollars. What? I don't understand that. I'm from America. You Brits are bred differently, man. Okay. Ali is here. No, I don't know what that is. Okay, then we have, so what the fuck is a white cause? Undefined. You must be more than globally. No doubt, no doubt. One of the worst acts of intellectual cowardice, the failure to confront Islam times and why. Well, I think the worst intellectual cowardice is what we are seeing by politicians who go to Muslim apologists to ask them what Islam is. And that, of course, doesn't work. So instead of going and finding out themselves, they go to Muslims and say, okay, what is Islam? Well, it's all peace and wonderful and all lovey-dovey because it says if you kill one person, it's like killing all mankind. And this is why we're saying, you know, to your religion, to mine, and there's no compulsion whatsoever. There you have it, Islam in a nutshell. That this is not the case. This is what I call intellectual cowardice, that they are not going themselves and learning what Islam really is. The same goes for all these snowflakes. I don't even call them left wing or right wing or whatever. I just think there's a lot of, I don't know, ignorant people who really don't understand Islam. They don't understand the political aspect of Islam, and they are falling for the propaganda that a lot of Muslim apologists are putting out, which is we love Jesus and everything's so nice, and we are just like the Christians, we are peaceful, everything is brilliant and beautiful, and everybody who is not a real Muslim. And then in reality, what they're doing is they're using the system to kill the system. And this is something that I think is like, this is why I'm so afraid. I am so afraid of Islam because this is what is happening. Okay, I just made a super clean cut of Ali. Yeah, a girl never spoke to him. Is wondering if he's gay. I knew it was all Steve had good. It wasn't the park that went well last weekend. I haven't watched that yet. There's no God, but whatever good believes him. I'm not here to give you a history lesson. Am I missing something? Okay, you jumped to the end, so then that's it. I heard somewhere recently that the Middle East has a concept of masculinity called vira, which I've only encountered studying yoga, as a concept of some Islam's holy books, and if so, where? I heard somewhere recently that the Middle East has a concept of masculinity called vira. I have never heard of that.
Sounds
I have not heard.
sounds like virada, sounds like Latin. Or Latinized, like virtu.
Which I've only encountered studying yoga. Is the concept in some Islam Saudi books, and if so, I'm sorry, City Shark, I've never heard of Vira. I have no idea what this is. So if you can get some details on that, we'll look into it. But at the moment, I'm stumped. Never heard of it.
I don't think Muslims do yoga. Maybe Sufis, but
what's that?
Vira sounds like a word from Indo-European. If it's linked to masculinity, because it's probably related to virtu. There's a what's it called? This dude in the French Revolution, the guy that was executed. What's it called? Anyway, a French Revolution. What is it called?
The Renaissance.
No. During the French Revolution, this revolutionary that was executed that looked funny. He said, I don't remember his name, but he had a funny name. Anyway, but he said to Robespierre that virtu or something like that. That because Robespierre was always talking about virtue, and so he says virtue is what I show my wife at night.
Oh, okay.
Meaning that because the French word means something that like uprightness or something like that. So uprightness is what I show my wife at night.
Very clever, hey?
Very clever. But then he was beheaded.
What's
his name? That guy?
What is the thing about Dawa Films? Kevin Andalus and this funny guy. He's a guy who's so full of himself. He always says, "Yeah, I really beat that guy," and he hasn't. And he says, "I refuted that guy," and he hasn't. There's a lot of bullshit with. I mean, I don't. He doesn't know anything. For me, he's one of the most useless people on the planet, running around and always saying, "Yeah, I won the debate," and things like that. I mean, we tried getting him on the Jinn&Tonic, but he's always run away. I've made a video on him showing how stupid he is. And that's it. So he's scared of anyone who knows a little bit of Islam, but that's nothing new, is it?
So, George Danton was his name.
Thank you for that important information.
Yeah.
Dawa Film said you led a witch hunt to get him arrested years ago. What? You led a witch hunt to get him arrested? I don't know the guy. he made some video which I commented on. I took it apart, showed this is bullshit. Then he was all butthurt and said, no, you don't like me. I said, no, of course I don't like you because you're a liar. And then he and some other guy started a show where they said, we're going to show the Jinn&Tonic show, we're going to own them. And I said, brilliant. So I went on their show to ask them, why is it that you are starting a show? Well, we want to talk to you. I said, well, we have the Jinn&Tonic show. This was together with Kling. And then he said, well, we want to debate with you. I said, well, we have an existing platform where you can do that, which is called the Jinn&Tonic show. Yeah, but we want to do this on our platform. So once we have started our platform, then we can debate. I said, well, why don't you debate next weekend? Like on a Sunday, we are there. No, we want to do this on, and it never happened. So that's all there is. That's all there is. So I don't know what the witch hunt is. Arrested, I don't know. The guy said that he is in Malaysia somewhere because he was doing his PhD studies or something. And that's all I know about the guy. So witch hunt, I just mock the guy. Okay, that's all I do. I mock the guy, especially when he's going off on Masked Arab. I mean, he's like an intellectual midget compared to the Masked Arab. And this is, so I did a witch hunt. Okay.
Abdul Ludba says, at Abu, you claim you were an ex-Muslim. No, I don't claim I were an ex-Muslim. I am an ex-Muslim.
Good point. TDS Dave, no, the guy has a bigger ego than intellect. Yeah, exactly. That's perfectly. It's a very, very good summary. I've had conversations with him. He's not honest. Exactly. Did you participate in the witch hunt against the guy? No. Okay, I don't know what a witch hunt is. I don't know the guy from a bar or so. I just know him from a couple of appearances on the net. That's it. Spanish line of God. Bullshit. Muslim destroys dumb atheists in just 20 years. Yeah, he does funny things like that. Has Mossad ever stolen your shoe? But he asked the question. Apparently, he's accusing you of something against spam. Sorry, did I miss something? Abdul something you don't know.
Sorry, this dude.
You don't know much about Islam.
Can you tell me what's the difference between Anas ibn Malik and Malik ibn Anas?
Oh, this is the same guy. Forget it. He's a troll.
Classical. The one of them is the famous alim, but
yes, exactly. But he's a troll.
But yeah, I've seen this guy before. He made the exact same question to
exactly
one of the ladies, I think.
Abdul Lubda says, "Stop telling you don't know much about Islam." This is fine, cool. If you find that I don't know something, then educate me. Tell me what I don't know. If I'm saying something wrong, tell me what is wrong, what should be right. Absolutely. I don't claim to be omniscient, all wise.
I can recite. I would believe. Oh, maybe I don't have to prove this, but no. I would like to bring this Abdul Ludbag guy, and I'm gonna ask him to recite Quran verses and things like that.
I have a screenshot of him accusing you. Oh, really? Oh, Jesus, that would be nice. Okay, I have no idea why he would do that. What is this, on Twitter or something, or screenshot? Well, it must be on some comment or something. You don't know much about Islam either. If I see a tree, I know it's a tree. I don't need evidence. I forgot. Well, Raphael, this is not actually what I said. What he says, what I commented on. He says, if I see a tree, I know it's a tree, unless I get some other information about this. This is what he said. Actually, this is so stupid. I know it's a tree unless I get information about it that shows me it is not a tree. Well, if it's not a tree, if I don't have information that it's a tree, it can't be a tree. You know, this is logics 101. This is the first lesson. You take the camel urine test. I have a question for you. Stop spamming. Why do you like Austrian? There's an Austrian Muslim channel on YouTube. I think they're in Linz or Graz. I can't even remember whether. I don't know if they're in the north or the south. Or maybe even in Vienna. And they are such a dishonest bunch. And I'm taking them to task at the moment. Where I've made, I think, 2 or 3 videos about them. And they are so butthurt about this. They can't handle this. This is why now I've made a couple of videos on them. I mean, German Muslims are actually quite stupid, okay? I mean, the level of UK apologists is much higher than that of Germans. I mean, German Muslims are so primitive. The videos I make, I mean, it's so, it's like childlike, really. About the Austrians, yeah, it's true. It's this Imam TV. I mean, they are so stupid. Okay, Abu, you claim, okay, this is where this comes from. Ex-Muslims don't exist, paid by Zionists. Yeah, I'm always waiting for the check. They're always telling me I'm paid by Zionists. So, pretty. Can you tell me how many rakat in Isha? Tell me the detail. I mean, why do you need to prove something? Because of you wasn't. I am a fake ex-Muslim. Yeah, wrong. If I'm wrong, what's the answer? Okay, there we go. So I've now caught up. Any other questions regarding Islam? Does anybody want to know anything else about anything? There was a topic I had that I wanted to mention, and I forgot what it was. Yeah, but the problem is that we in the past we had a guy called Ahmed who was really, I mean, he was so obnoxious. This was such a pain in the neck, and he became so obsessed with this that he started throwing insults, and he became totally like out of control. And he went on my videos, insulted everybody who made a comment there, until I said to him, listen, if you come with arguments, if you come with any refutations, you're welcome to do so. But what you're doing at the moment, you're just being a nuisance. You're just here to irritate and annoy people. And this went so far that I actually blocked someone. I blocked this guy. And this Abdul Lubda sounds exactly like this Ahmed that we had. And this is, I believe that there is some sort of a brain problem, because it also started quite quietly, normally. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You're an idiot. You're a fool. And then he became so obsessed that it became quite bad after a while. Yeah, and it could also be somebody who's just being a troll. Yeah. Rafa, are you ready? I'll give you one. Your answer was wrong. It is 4 rakats and you linked Abdul go on the stream. Now, he'll never go on the stream. And by the way, since I have set, let me just check that I have set this so that hide their audio. Yes. You guests are muted. Yes. So if somebody joins and starts doing anything stupid, the surprises that we used to have are not possible anymore here. So if anybody wants to come on, let me know. I'll just put it in here, because at the moment, Dawa Films message. Okay, thank you. That's nice. Compare, and let's open this in a new window. Zoinks, you've taken a wrong turn. Let's split up, gang. If you're looking, Imgur, nah, this doesn't exist for some reason. You need to find a body language actor to go through some speakers' corners just to see if they believe what they are saying. Well, you know, body language can be interesting, but it's not a foolproof thing. There's a couple of things that you can pick up, and I'm quite sensitive, but usually more with girls than with guys. And I think this body language thing is interesting if it's obvious. And sometimes it is obvious, you know, because sometimes people do behave shifty, and they touch their hair and the face and the hands, and they make these typical movements. Absolutely, but not everybody does. And I would never go and say, okay, this is what it is. This guy is lying because of the body language. I would not do that. I would not go so far. Ah, there we go. So this is the second try. Let's see if this one works. Uploaded. Andalusian Project. Why don't you tell us all how I contradict myself? And in the meantime, you can wait for my discussion with the secular jihadists coming out soon. Oh, by the way, secular jihadists, this is Ali, who was on the Jinn&Tonic show for a while. And then he went and started his own show. But this is a different concept. They don't have a discussion platform the way that we have it. They're only doing guests and interviews, and they're always quite long and just talking to one guy. And no, I will not go on the Jinn&Tonic show, because the person who has to stop spamming was an individual who participated in a witch hunt against me several years ago, trying to have me arrested or killed by supporting another person. Oh, I know what he's referring to. Okay, what actually happened is that he was in a bit of a battle with Thunderfoot. And I made a video because I was not following Thunderfoot. I mean, Thunderfoot's videos, when he made this video series on the Creationist, this was quite interesting. But then I was no longer interested in what he had to say. And what then happened, I made a video about this Kevin guy, this Dawa Films guy, where I actually mocked him quite heavily. This video was watched by Thunderfoot, who was in a private war with him. And then he told everybody, watch this video by Stop Spamming, because this is exactly how I feel about this Dawa Films guy. And then a lot of followers of Thunderfoot came and watched the video. And then he got a lot of flack and a lot of comments by those people who were following Thunderfoot, who watched my video and then went to him and said, listen, you've been totally owned. So this being like 3 separate events, he puts together, and this is how he's like paranoid. So I have wanted to have him killed by supporting another person, which is Thunderfoot, who slandered me as a terrorist. And Thunderfoot did not slander him as a terrorist. He just took some statements which Dawa Films made and said, this guy could be dangerous, and that's it. During this time, I received hundreds of death threats to me and my family, people calling the authorities on me. I don't know any of this, okay? And others trying to find out where I live. Others trying to find out where I live. Okay, not me, okay? I don't know any of this. And so Swami was one of those at the forefront of this. No, this is not true. This is a lie.
I mean, don't worry. I'm also trying to figure out where I live.
How do you expect me to have a debate with someone who would just as easy silence me if they got the chance? No, you fool. You're an idiot. You're a child. You're a pinhead. Why would I want to kill you? No, thanks. I have no respect for this kind. For his kind. Okay. Oh, goodness. I mean, he's such a butthurt kid, really. But this is cute. Oh, goodness. And I had this exchange because I bumped into one of his videos. Somebody said, go and watch the video and do a rebuttal, but I really couldn't be bothered. I just made a comment, and he was immediately jumping on this. There seems to be some sort of animosity where I don't even know what I've done. And he's too dishonest to come and talk about this. So whatever. Okay, second, I like to voodoo. Oh, yes, voodoo. Voodoo. No, not the voodoo, not the Haitian type.
Voodoo. Voodoo.
I think it sounds rude. I think voodoo sounds rude.
El-voodoo.
Well, remember this Dar Films guy, he's from the States, okay? So I don't know if if this is another invented name. I have no idea. I mean, this whole Andalusi thing already tells you what kind of a person he is. I mean, okay, produce a chapter like the Quran. Exactly. I would ask your prophet to come to the show. Where are all the wasabis from Speaker's Corner gone? The laughing corner, but anyone notice that Rob and Abdul Lubda are never in the same place at the same time? Yeah, it's very suspicious, isn't it? Yeah. Intellectually decimated the savior. He intellectually decimated your Sabior, Master Arab. No, this is a dream that this Kevin Dawa Films has, that he wants to decimate someone. He's been dreaming about this for as long as I've heard him, but he's never managed to do that, especially not Master Arab. There's definitely not. Let me quickly explain what he's doing. Master Arab goes and takes a sentence from the Quran, goes and finds the appropriate hadiths and tafsirs and everything, and shows the whole package. He shows what the various scholars have said. He looks at the pros and the cons. So he's very thorough about what he does. Shows everything, shows the details, shows all the sources, and just demonstrates it. Okay. Now, this Dawa Films guy comes along, Andalusi, whatever, I don't even know what he's called. And he then says, well, actually, if you take the word here and take the word there, and maybe it has a different meaning, and maybe this and maybe that, then it can change. But he doesn't say, okay, this is what is wrong, here's why it is wrong, and here's what's correct. He doesn't do that. He just rattles off claims and goes after semantics and says, well, actually, if you go to the scholar X, he said something different than the scholars that Master Arab brought up. But he still doesn't explain what is wrong with the Hadith and what is wrong with the Quran. Because what the Master Arab is doing, he's taking something from the original sources, from the primary and secondary texts, and then uses others to show why it is being interpreted as such. To then find another scholar who says something else is very easy, because this is what Islam is all about. You always find that. So there's nothing that he's really doing. There's nothing really that he's rebutting or refuting or anything. He's just saying, well, there's others who say something else. And so what? It doesn't matter. He intellectually dominates Master Arab. Yeah, that's just the point. Exactly. This is what we need to understand. Okay. What do we have? You guys should go more in depth about his clips. Whose clips? Andalusi. No, he's an idiot. There's nothing there. He just rambles on and tells everybody what a great guy he is. tells everybody how intellectually unbeatable he is, and tells everybody how wonderful his understanding of Islam is. Then he adds a couple of sentences from some old scholar, and that's it. And you're done. So what is the point of doing that? I don't understand it. I didn't know this was by Leonardo da Vinci. I used this a couple of times. Okay, it's actually by Leonardo da Vinci, who said that if you rely on authorities and you use only those names in their function as an authority and you quote them, you're not using your brain, you're just using your memory. And this is so brilliant.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm boring you to death.
No. You're not boring me. Am I allowed to read the introduction tonight?
Who are the 10 blessed Sahaba promised paradise? Abdul, what the fuck is your problem? Is this a test or something? If somebody tests, they used to be in Muslim. Not every Muslim knows everything about Islam. I know a lot more about Islam than 99% of all Muslims. That's the way that it is. And if somebody says they're an ex-Muslim, you cannot ask them to recite the entire Quran. And if they're not capable of doing that, you can say, no, you were never a real Muslim. It doesn't work like that.
I can tell you who they were. They were Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar ibn al-Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Talha ibn Abdullah, Zubayr ibn al-Awam, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqas, Sa'id ibn Zayd, Abu Ubaidah, Amir ibn Abdullah ibn Jarrah. No,
you probably pronounced Ubaidah wrong, and therefore you're not an ex-Muslim.
No, Ubaidah. Well, I haven't memorized them. That's the kind of questions. I don't even think I would have remembered. Maybe I would have remembered everyone when I was a Muslim. But that's the kind of question that 99.9% of all practicing Muslims have not memorized. That kind
He's
of.
Googling it now. Of course. You ask the question, you answer it as what he's Googled it. Yeah, of course.
I don't remember that.
Look, that's why ignore him.
Go to the. You can ask that. That's the kind of question. I knew most of the guys on the list, but I hadn't memorized, or maybe I had memorized them once, but I don't remember. Like,
okay, Punish a Muslim Day. What is your opinion on Punish a Muslim Day?
My opinion.
Yep.
What is Punish a Muslim Day? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's stupid. I said this very clearly last time. I think it was actually done by a Muslim because it's so badly done. I don't think anybody who's a little bit intelligent could do this. I think this was just another thing, another propaganda thing where Muslims say, you see, we are being punished all the time, we are being oppressed, and we are the poor Muslims, we need more pity. Yeah. What happened to Reza Aslan? I don't know. What happened to him? Did somebody shut him up? Jinn&Tonic, people like Andalusi need to be exposed, plus it's entertaining, I think. No, it's really, I mean, this is so primitive. This is so, I mean, he is such a non-person. He's such a non-influence. Or does he have a lot of subscribers? I can't imagine this because he's so stupid. Then he's going to tell me it's another witch hunt that I'm trying to get him killed. You see, this is the point. It's not entertaining. If I take somebody like hijab, at least I can really, like really go to town there and make him look really stupid. And I love doing that. I must admit, I love doing it because he's really so. The thing is that what Dawa Films does is he will stay within some limits. Okay, he will never go and say the Quran says this and therefore this means that. But hijab will say this. And this is why it's so funny when hijab goes off on a tangent where he absolutely has no clue on what he's talking about. So that's fun. But their Dawa Films doesn't do that. He sticks to his little semantic games here. But this guy said this, and if you look at this word and the ending of that, it has a different letter than that one. And because the word is similar to that one, you can find this on page 58 of what this and this guy said. And if you compare that to what this guy said on page 322, then you can see that it can have another meaning. And therefore, I think we can safely assume that this is the meaning that is intended. this is boring. Can we have a Ramadan show soon? We don't have Ramadan yet. This was such a big part of my life, and this will be second year in 30 years since teens. I will not be keeping them. Well, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, welcome to the real world. Number three, we don't do Ramadan, and we don't do Ramadan shows. We just acknowledge that Ramadan exists. For me, Ramadan was always the favorite time because it meant everything was closed and that I could have free time running around. This is when I love driving around the country. And I mean, it was quite difficult because even like I said, 24-hour McDonald's were closed. But other than that, it's great. And so you always find a car for someone with some sandwiches or something. And I enjoyed this. I enjoyed Ramadan because I only experienced Ramadan in late summer. So it was still boiling hot on that, but then it started cooling off a bit. In the beginning, because it moves, okay, it's getting earlier and earlier. So in the beginning, it was like a bit cooler when I was still in Dubai. And then when I moved to Qatar, it was already getting warmer. And then in Abu Dhabi later, it was really warm. But it's okay. I mean, I liked it. But here now, we just show the rules. We show what it is. We show what people are doing and what reality is. Because come on, let's face it. I mean, everybody who can afford it is going to go to London and have a good time in London. So. But we're going to have a Ramadan show. But Garkosh, you sound like the kosh, the words remind me of khoshkele, that you could be from Iran. If you are capable and willing, it's always very, very possible that you can do a Ramadan show. If you want to do that, you are more than welcome to introduce Ramadan to us, that you just come on here. You can have half an hour, 1 hour, however much time you want, and give us an introduction or some sort of insight into what Ramadan means to a practicing Muslim, the thoughts that people have during this Ramadan, and how you see this. You're more than welcome to do that. We'll give you the platform. You can come on and do an entire Ramadan show. So this is an offer, and this goes for everybody who has some specialized knowledge or wants to, show something about some specific aspect of Islam. Absolutely welcome. It's not that we need to sit here all the time. Definitely not. And we had this. I mean, TJ did this brilliant thing on the conquest of the the near India, what today is Pakistan and India. And that was really valuable information. And people are still watching it and are still going back to this because it's a resource. Why does takfir on a group mean that you have to kill all of them? I don't know. Takfir does not actually mean you need to kill them.
Well, under certain circumstances.
Under certain circumstances, yeah, but it doesn't mean now you need to go off and kill them. Don't you have a grace period as well, where if they have committed something, they can repent, they can withdraw, they are allowed to leave. There are different options, I think, here as well.
God says, for example, فإذا انسلخ الأشهر الحرم فاقتلوا المشركين. Anyway, فإن تابوا وأقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة فخلوا سبيلهم. So if they repent and pay the zakah and pray the prayer, then
exactly, that's what I remember.
Then leave them alone.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, TJ, yes. I'll put this in here just now. Let's test this. Speaker's Corner, Ramadan Ding Dong. You still remember this? This was so funny, absolutely. Abdullah, tell me the one time. Yeah, this is nice. Brilliant point, excellent. He's going to accuse you of Googling it, absolutely. Unity took so long to answer. Abdullah, so what? Exactly. If you pay me the ticket and hotel, yeah, exactly. When would you return to the park? That was fun, hey. That was really fun. I mean, I don't know, Victor Heller, do you actually, I don't know, have I asked you this? Do you know that there's a video out there, the best Muslim apologist withdrawals? In other words, when they ran away, exits, I can't remember what it's called, and you are on one of them. So you are a classic withdrawal when the Muslim apologists ran away from you.
Withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah. Man, it was very sad. I don't think a single was punished. It's very sad how us Muslims are being persecuted everywhere. Okay, and I'm actually quite sure that you're a troll, because this nobody is gonna. Okay, Allah's plan organized it. It was a poor joke based on death rates and persecuting. Yeah, exactly. Does everyone want to read his presentation? Yeah, let's do that just now. Is there anything else if people want? And I don't subscribe to my channel. I don't upload anything. Yeah, Victor is bored. He's so boring. He's so lazy. You didn't really live in Dubai. Name every single city in Dubai. Okay? Dubai. That's a good one.
Sorry.
Name every street in Dubai. Exactly. This is exactly boing. Perfect. Spot on. Name every street in Dubai. If you can't do that, you've never lived in Dubai. Yeah. Wow. I just remember that the Rashid Tower was halfway done. No, three quarters done. And I remember that our offices were now, I thought if this thing now tips over, it's going to hit our office. And I thought if they go a little bit higher and this thing is being unstable, then now it's the time to watch this thing in case it should topple over. I mean, that thing is amazing, and how quickly they built it. Because then I went somewhere else. I came back just like 3 weeks later, and it looked like it had doubled in height. I mean, that was amazing. So that was when I was in Dubai. The police tried to throw acid. You police, Jinn&Tonic show might take you up on. Yes, really, that would be really nice. That if you want to do that, I would really welcome that, because it's always nice to have a topic and somebody who is prepared to go and do some research on this and then go and present this. Absolutely, yeah. So if you feel like it, let me know. I'm easy to get hold of, so please do that, yeah. We're all being paid by Zionists. I watched a clip of a crowd of Muslims during Arab Spring and the translation of what one guy was shouting, we want democracy and Abu Allah Akbar in the same breath. You can't have democracy and Allahu Akbar. That doesn't work, does it? Because again, I don't know if I need to explain this. Muslims believe that God-given law is a higher law than human-given law. So what democracy gives you is human-made law, which is human rights, things like that, which is made by humans. And look what free speech is getting us. People are blaspheming the Prophet. So that's why you can't have God's law and man's law in the same country. Abu's not a true Hafiz. He has to recite the entire Quran on the show. Exactly.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم.
Come on, admit it. You just played a recording. You did this previously. You were prepared for this.
Yeah. We can do it on the Ramadan. We can make
it. Sorry, you just Googled this.
Yeah. Very quickly.
Really want democracy, or don't they understand the meaning? I think most Muslims don't even understand the concept of democracy. They don't understand that democracy is just a system of organizing people. It's nothing. There's nothing special about it. It's not the best system. It is not the, above all or whatever. Absolutely not. But it's the best we have at the moment. This is my personal opinion. I don't know if it is. I don't know. I actually think communism, I think a benign dictator is the best system. Like if somebody like Macron at the moment, if he were to be a dictator of Europe, I would totally support this.
I think the best system if I'm the dictator.
No, I would support Macron over you. I'm sorry, because this guy is really good, and I think all this stuff that we have at the moment with going backwards and forwards, like what I see now, where Merkel, or before that it was what was this guy called, who was also a chancellor for I don't know how many years, by simply saying, "Oh, no, let's not do anything like that," and da, da, da. And this is stupid. So I think there are better systems. Even communism, the sheer communism, okay, is a better system, but people are not ready for it. So this is why it's an inferior system.
What is sheer communism?
Well, the way that it was described by Marx, the way that you have a system where people, this is what I said the last time, where people responsibly share all the resources in a country and everybody gets a share of the well-being of the others, where there's no individual like what we have today, where a company CEO gets 50 million times the salary of the guy doing the work.
But do you mean that would work on a... I mean, I can understand if you
No,
argue
it doesn't
that...
work. This is the problem.
Yeah, but then it can't be the best system.
It's an illusion.
Yeah, but if you say like that, then you can say that I make up a fantasy stuff
that's what it is.
That works perfectly, but it doesn't work in reality.
That's what it is, and this is what I'm saying. In actual fact, I think communism is even better, but it doesn't work. So it's just an illusion. Absolutely, yeah. Unicorn urine is much better than camel urine. I don't know. I'm getting my internet money off that fame now, so that I can go there again. No, you don't know that video? What? Pity. Even like Christian ISIS, da da da. Okay, I'm a little bit behind. Cameron, Macron, are you crazy? He has established temporary state of emergency into permanent alterable. This is exactly what I mean. If he were this is the sign of a dictator, and I don't think that this is so bad at the moment, because it's giving the people the impression that something is being done that is positive for them. Counter-Trumpism. Boris Johnson. Caliphate of Tanistan.
He has the best possible hairstyle.
Okay, all right. Abu, do you want to give it a whirl?
Yes. So I have painstakingly scanned Patricia Crona's Meccan Trade and the Rise of Islam. I'm not going to read the whole book tonight.
Just be careful that you don't go into copyright violation.
No, I don't think so. This is just an image. But I think I wanted to make a kind of a slow progression through Patricia Crona's Meccan Trade and the Rise of Islam. For those who don't know who she was an Orientalist, whatever it's called. Like, anyway. So this is just the introduction. Part 1, introduction. Every first-year student knows that Mecca at the time of the Prophet was the center of a far-flung trading empire, which plays a role of some importance in all orthodox accounts of the rise of Islam. Indeed, the international trade of the Meccans has achieved such fame that not only first-year students, but also professional Islamicists have come to consider documentation to be quite superfluous. Thus, Montgomery Watt was whose well-known interpretation of Muhammad's life centers on the impact of commercial wealth on the social and moral order in Mecca, devotes less than a page of his 2-volume work to a discussion of the commerce from which the wealth in question supposedly derived, and with references he dispenses altogether. But what do we actually know about Meccan trade? The groundwork on the subject was done by Lamons, a notoriously unreliable scholar whose name is rarely mentioned in the secondary literature without some expression of caution or disapproval, but whose conclusions would nonetheless appear to have been accepted by Watt. More recently, various aspects of the question have been taken up and richly documented by Kister. Kister's works is apparently held to Kister's works apparently held to corroborate the picture drawn up by Lamens. There is at least no appreciable difference between the portraits of Meccan trade presented by Watt and on the basis of Lamens, by Shaban and the basis of Kister, and by Donner on the basis of both. But in fact, neither Lamens nor Kister provide support for the conventional account, the former because his work collapses on inspection of his footnotes, the latter because his impeccable footnotes undermine our basic assumptions concerning the nature of the trade. What follows is evidence to the effect that Meccan trade is nothing if not a problem. The conventional account of Meccan trade begs one simple question: what commodity or commodities enabled the inhabitants of so unpromising a site to engage in commerce on so large a scale, that the trading empire grew up in an unexpected place is clear, if not always clearly brought out. There have, of course, been commercial centers in Arabia that developed in areas of comparable barrenness, notably Aden, you say that, but Aden and other coastal cities of South Arabia all owed their existence to the sea, as Muqaddisi noted, whereas Mecca was an inland town. And here you can see a nice map of how it looked back then.
Does it have a date?
The book?
No, the map.
The map. Let's see. Maybe it's in a note. Wait a minute.
Why I'm asking is because there's a map from, what was it, 710 or something, which is the first time that Mecca actually appeared on a map. And I was wondering if this is the one. Because before that, Mecca was never mentioned. It was not on any of the maps.
No, it's not even mentioned by name in any historical text until...
This is why I was wondering if there's a date associated with this map. Or if this is just her showing what is what. So this is a modern map. I don't know. But it's Petra, Tabuk.
It looks like that it's something... If you look at, for example, Yathrib there, Yathrib was before...
The old name.
This is probably not a real... This is probably a reconstruction somehow, because Yathrib was the name of Medina before the Prophet arrived with his gang. And Mecca is not mentioned in any text, definitely not any map.
That's why I was interested in the date, if there was one.
Yeah, so it's probably a reconstruction. Or like it did have... wait a minute. It did have a little port, Shuaiba, and the Qur'an speaks at length about the miraculous navigability of the sea. Excuse my pronunciation there. The sources are agreed that the Meccans traded with Ethiopia, and there is even an isolated tradition which asserts that they used to engage in maritime trade with the Roman Empire, or the Byzantine Empire, but they didn't call it themselves. They called themselves Roman, but spoke Greek. But the Meccans had no timber and no ships. They made no use of their port when blocked by Muhammad, and neither Shuaiba nor the sea receives much attention in the tradition. Centers of caravan trade, on the other hand, have usually been located in less hostile environments and within closer proximity to their customers than was Mecca. Witness Manian Didan, Roman Palmyra, and Ibn Rashid's hail. I'm not sure what that's. By way of compensation, Mecca is frequently credited with the advantage of having been located at the crossroads of all the major trade routes in Arabia, or at least with having been a natural halt and the so-called incense route from South Arabia to Syria. But as Bulliet points out, these claims are quite wrong. Mecca is tucked away at the edge of the peninsula. Only by the most tortured map reading can it be described as a natural crossroads between a north-south route and an east-west one. And the fact that it is more or less equidistant from South Arabia and Syria does not. What is that word?
It's equidistant.
Equidistant. What does it mean?
It's at the same distance.
Okay. From South Arabia and Syria does not suffice to make it a natural halt on the incense route. In the first place, the caravans which traveled along this route stopped at least 65 times on the way. They were under no constraint to stop at Mecca, merely because it happened to be located roughly midway. On a journey of some 2 months' duration, the concept of a hallway point as a natural resting place is rather strained. In the second place, barren places do not make natural halts wherever they may be located, and least of all when they are found at a short distance from famously green environments. Why should caravans have made a steep descent to the barren valley of Mecca when they could have stopped at Taif? Taif is still to this day like the Saudi overclass and the Saudi families. I think even the royal family go to Taif in the summer because it's higher up, so it's slightly less hot, slightly colder. Oops. Mecca did, of course, have both a well and a sanctuary, but so did Taif, which had food supplies. When she says this, she's not doing it with... she's just assuming that there was a sanctuary. She's not really referring to any evidence, because there is no evidence of Mecca until 100 years later, and then it's not even located in what is in Hijaz. It's located between Ur and Haran. But so did Taif, which had food supplies too. In the third place, it would appear that Mecca was not located in the incense route at all. Going from South Arabia to Syria via Mecca would have meant a detour from the natural route, as both Muller and Groom have pointed out. And Groom estimates that the incense route must have bypassed Mecca by some 100 miles. Mecca, in other words, was not just distant and barren. It was of the beaten track. It was off the beaten track as well. The only reason for Mecca to grow into a great trading center, according to Bulliet, was that it was able somehow to force the trade under its control. It is certainly hard to think of any other, but what trade? What commodity was available in Arabia that could be transported at such a distance through such an inhospitable environment and still be sold at a profit large enough to support the growth of a city in a peripheral site bereft of natural resources? In Diocletian's Rome, it was cheaper to ship wheat from Alexandria to Rome at a distance of some 1,250 miles than to transport it 50 miles by land. The distance from Najran to Gaza was roughly 1,250 miles, not countering the detour to Mecca. A caravan takes a month to go to Syria and a month to return, as the Meccans objected when Muhammad claimed to have visited Jerusalem by night. Whatever the Meccans sold, their goods must have been rare, much coveted, reasonably light, and exceedingly expensive. One can read a great many accounts of Meccan trade without being initiated into the secret of what the Meccans traded in, but most Islamicists clearly envisage them as selling incense, spices, and other exotic goods. By the end of the 6th century AD, they had gained control of most of the trade from the Yemen to Syria, and an important route by which the West got Indian luxury goods as well as South Arabian frankincense, as what inform us. Mecca was a transfer point in the long distance trade network between India, Africa, and the Mediterranean.
How many
Yes.
pages is this introduction?
It's not so much left. Wait a minute. We can see.
Because if this is another 5 pages, then this is going to take ages.
No, it's not another 5 pages. But you can read instead, so you do it quicker than me. Okay.
What, you want me to read this now?
Yes.
Yes, but this is a lot.
No, it's not so much left. I think
So, as we are told, the more recent statement by Donna. Donna is another, well, not Orientalist, is an Islam. What do you call an intellectual?
Orientalist.
Somebody who studied Islam, not an Orientalist of the old type, but a modern day scholar of Islam. So similar statements are commonplace in secondary literature. Incense, spices, slaves, silk, and so forth would indeed fit the bill. The source for all this, however, is Lamens, and on turning Kista, one finds the Meccans engage in a trade of a considerably humbler kind. The international trade of the Meccans here rests on articles such as leather and clothing, which the Meccans moreover advertise as being cheap. There is no incense nor any other spices in the work of Kista, and the same is true of that of Springer, who likewise identified the chief article of export as leather. Clearly something is amiss. Did the Meccans really trade in incense, spices, and other luxury goods? If not, could they have founded a commercial empire of international dimensions on the basis of leather goods and clothing? The answer to both questions would appear to be no, and it is for this reason that Meccans trade is a problem. Why do Islamists find it easy to believe that the Meccans traded in incense, spice, and the like? Presumably because Arabia is indelibly associated with this kind of goods in the mind of every educated person. Besides, what other significant articles were available in Arabia for the Meccans to export? Because the classical spice trade of Arabia is so famous, practically every account of Meccan trade tends to be the cast in its image, or in other words, Meccan trade tends to be described on the basis of stereotypes. The stereotypes in question may be summarized as follows. Already in the 3rd millennium BC, the South Arabians traded in incense, later also in foreign goods. Indeed, the very earliest commercial and cultural contacts between the Mediterranean and the lands around
Wait a minute.
the Indian Ocean were established via the overland incense route. In any case, there is no doubt that the trade was fully developed by about 900 BC when the Queen of Sheba visited Solomon and when the Arabs assuredly controlled the sea route to India. And they certainly supplied Egypt with Indian spices, fabrics, and precious stones about this time. They also supplied ancient Iraq, for Assyrian policy vis-a-vis Arabia was dictated by concern for the security of the incense route, though some are of the opinion that the trade between Babylonia and India only fell into Arab hands on the Achaemenid conquest of Iraq. At all events, they soon offered their customers all the products of India, Far East, tropical Africa, from Abyssinia to Madagascar. They were a curious people in that they sailed to Africa and India, but transported their goods by caravan on reaching their native shores. This was because their boats, though adequate for long-distance journeys, were too primitive for navigation in the Red Sea and apparently also the Persian Gulf. But they were perfectly capable of keeping the Indians out of the Red Sea, and it is because they guarded their commercial monopoly with such jealousy that they are so ill-informed about this early trade. We can, however, rest assured that all the bustling commerce described by Pliny in the Periplus, probably about 50 AD, was part of the normal scene of the ancient Saba some 900 years before. We can also rest assured that it was part of the normal scene some 500 years later. South Arabian hold on the India trade somehow survived the establishment of direct commercial contact between India and the Greco-Roman world, so that when due course, South Arabia declined, the Meccans took over the task of satisfying the enormous Roman demand for luxury goods. The Meccans used the same overland route. Indeed, it was on their control of the old incense route that their commercial predominance in Arabia rested. And they exported the same goods: Arabian frankincense, East African ivory and gold, Indian spices, Chinese silk, and the like. It was only on the Arab conquest of the Middle East that this venerable trade came to an end after a lifespan of some 1,500 or 2,500 years. All this, of course, is somewhat incredible. In what follows, I shall devote myself to a demonstration that it is also quite untrue. The South Arabian trade in incense and spices is not nearly as old as is commonly assumed, and the goods in question were not invariably sent north by caravan. The last allusion to the overland route dates from the first, or as some would have it, early 2nd century AD, and the transit trade would appear to have been maritime from the start. So neither the incense trade nor the transit trade survived long enough for the Meccans to inherit them, and there was no such thing as a Meccan trade in incense, spices, and foreign luxury goods. At least the Islamic tradition is quite unaware that the Meccans are supposed to have handled this type of goods, and the Greeks to whom they were supposed to have sold them had never even heard of Mecca. Meccan trade there was, if we trust the Islamic tradition, but the trade described in this tradition bears little resemblance to what we know from Laman's What or their various followers.
Yes. Yes.
So what have we learned? Basically, what this is, it's showing that the entire story around the location, situation, function, importance of Mecca is fabricated.
There's no evidence for it. It's just that we assume that the Muslim tradition was right, but if you go back and look at the historical sources, there's nothing that support it.
Yeah. Okay. Then, but maybe reading this is not a good idea.
Yeah, maybe it takes too long time to go through the whole.
I think short summaries of passages, I think, are more in order here. And it's also easier for you that you just take half an hour and you just take one topic out of the book and then say, okay, this is what she says. Do a couple of citations and just summarize the rest.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think this was a good way of finding out. There was a question or a comment by Aviasco Karogenitis, that this is becoming like a radio show rather than proper reasoning. And yes, to a certain extent, this is true because, well, this has several reasons. Number one, we don't always have a topic because we've talked about almost everything there is to talk in Islam. So we're looking for topics, we're looking for other things that we can discuss, other things that we can talk about. We can only go to the format that we used to have, where we used to discuss the news and things like that. But that is also boring because everybody knows the news and can read the news for themselves. So it's very difficult to find, things that are going to be fascinating for people. What I find interesting is always the possibility of dissecting a video taken in Speaker's Corner, or taking what we've just done with Abu now, where Abu said, okay, I'll give you some insight into what Patricia Crona has written, which I think is fascinating, but we've just discovered not this in this form. So if somebody has a topic that we should discuss, and if absolutely, come bring it. This is why I'm very grateful for the topic on Ramadan, which we can do in a few months when we come to Ramadan again. And if there is anything else that anybody would like to know about, it's great. Now, my question is, today we tried something that is only a question and answer, an interaction. Is this something that people can go with? Do people like questions and answers? Because what we found is when we're talking about a topic, people in the chat are talking about something else. So I said, well, let's make it more interactive. Let's interact more with the chat to see what people are interested in the chat. But now people in the chat are primarily talking about politics, left wing and right wing and blah, 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 nothing to do with Islam. So how can we get this? How can we make this more interesting for everybody? Because all the controversial topics, come on, let's face it, we've done them. So if anybody if anybody wants to come up with a suggestion, if anybody wants to come up with something, you're absolutely welcome to do so. And Rafa is asking, how do I contact you? There's different ways. Either do it via email at stopspamming@yahoo.com, or you go to get me on Skype. I always put all my contact details out on my channels because it's very easy to get hold of me. What is this one? I read the image makers will be the worst punished in hell, or something like that. Do you think that includes Ali Dawa and other Muslim YouTubers? Well, it's not the image makers. It's the ones that create images of people who are then being worshipped. So, no. Well, okay, you could, of course, argue that I remember, when was it? 2015, 14, around them. There was this guy, this Hamza Andreas Tsortsis, this Greek guy. He was close to being worshipped because he took on people like Professor Hoodboy, and he talked to P.T. Myers and Professor Dawkins, Professor Krauss, and things like. I mean, he got badly butts spanked, but a lot of Muslims that didn't realize that. There's even the Krauss debate. A lot of people still today say that Tsortsis actually came out the winner against Krauss. And in reality, this is what caused Tsortsis to completely disappear for a year. He completely gave up all his debating. He hasn't done a single debate after that. So, so he was close to being worshipped. And then even when his, what was this thing, this Madison Ivy, no, what was this thing? Where he was in the database, where he was caught with his pants down, literally, flirting on their site when he paid with his credit card while he was in Australia doing this funny speech tour. Then he got demoted. But even today, people are still talking about Tsortsis. And now hijab is the one who can articulate himself. And a lot of Muslims worship him for this ability. They think this is brilliant. If somebody can say intellectual, if somebody can use the word intellectual, this is already a huge thing. So there you go. I think this is what this image refers to.
Flirting with your pants down. That is some aggressive flirting.
Yeah, this is what. Okay, say your email again. Oh, it's on my channel. It's on my thing, on all my videos. It's stop_scam. Oh my God, let me try. I'll put it in here. There's no problem. This is not a secret thing. I mean, if you want to spam me now, okay, cool. But then this is the risk that I'm taking. So there you go. You want to give Rafa the wrench back again while Rob is away? I wouldn't even know how to do that. Topic idea: dissect the absurdity of the true Muslim fallacy. Oh, we've done this so many times. And the thing is, there is no true Muslim. I've just talked about this. There is no such thing as a true Muslim because there are so many different texts, so many different interpretations. That is why there is no true Muslim. I got removed because I blocked a Muslim who kept on spamming. Thanks for the answer. Interesting. You need an goodness who would he jumped. We should practice what we preach and deal with our own war criminals. We look like hypocrites in that regard, okay? Invite Hamza. You know, this is quite funny. Now, we had our own battle, okay? I mean, this went so far that he made comments on me on Facebook, and then he sent me a message, which he immediately retracted and deleted again so that nobody could see it. But of course, I got the screenshot. And then I made a video about this, showing how ridiculous it is. This is to what extent it came. He never, ever, ever, not once addressed me. I said, let's talk. Let's sit down together. Come on the Gin&Tonic show. Let's talk. He never did. He practiced this and went on the Magic Sandwich show just to see what it would be like. And he got so horribly spanked there that he never came on the Gin&Tonic show. And then, of course, this thing with Kraus happened, and then he just disappeared. So everybody, I mean, the closest I got was Imran Hussein on there, because they had this call-in show, not like here where anybody can talk and blah, blah. No, 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 no. There you could listen, and then you were given a microphone, and somebody had the button on the on the microphone jamming button, so that you could only say things which you'd like. And I told them, listen, okay, I appreciate what you guys are doing. And this was the London Dawa movement, and they had this. Well, it wasn't a show or something. They just had this thing where you could listen to what they were saying, and then they would give you the microphone. You could say a couple of things, and then they said this twice on 2 occasions. They said, okay, we will sit down with you. We will have a session with you. We will have a debate with you. You can teach us what an atheist is. We can talk about all these things. And this never appeared. This never materialized. They always ran away. And this was Subur. This was Imran Hussein. This was, who was this Indian guy with a funny beard? Anyway, it was a couple of guys. And they always said, yeah, let's go and do that. Let's go and talk to, stop spamming. They never did. Never. They always ran away. Then it came to, we have guys now like Hijab. We have guys like Ali Dawa and those people. And they're pathetically scared of the Gin&Tonic show, because they know that if they, they cannot really say anything here, because their normal bullshit doesn't work. And they can't come and say, well, Quran says this and Islam says that, because, I mean, they know that I know that when they are lying and when they're talking bullshit. And Abu here, come on, he knows more about the Quran than I can ever hope to know. So, I mean, this is why they're scared. They will never go. I mean, even sources in his heydays, he never went against anybody who knew Islam or the Quran. It was always some intellectual, some academic, some whatever, some professor who hadn't heard of the Quran, where he could always bring his arguments. You see, but you don't know anything about the Quran, so why are you talking about it? Well, this is how he got people, and he cheesed them off, and that's why people then in the end didn't want to talk to him anymore. But there were some excellent, tidbits and sound bites, especially when he said, well, I mean, what is wrong with marrying a 9-year-old? If she is ready, if she's mentally ready, if she's physically ready, then by all means go ahead and have sex with her. And he said this in a debate in Australia. So there you go. Grouse beat him very well, exactly. But a lot of people, even Muslims, will say, no, not really. And he owned Kraus. And then, I think to myself, this is the same thing as there are still people today in the comments telling Rob, Subur owned you. Now, Rob didn't do anything. He was passive. He was just, like waiting for him to come up with something. And he let Subur talk. Okay, and that was his mistake. He just let him ramble on and on and on. He didn't really say, listen, stop. This is not true. He didn't do that. So otherwise. My account was hacked. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. My account was hacked. I don't know what account. Citing decimated sources in his cartoons. Yeah, those are brilliant. Flirting with the decimated, me neither. So there you go. Unsolicited since, but because of Islam. Iceland banned circumcision, no more Muslims. There you go. Is that what they did, or is that what you would like them to do? Iceland did it because yours, and Muslims do it too. What? Population of yours is only 400 V down. I love your series on sources. I still watch it to this day. Yeah, but most of it is gone. Most of the sources stuff is gone, because I only have a little bit of embryology left, and I think I have Poshy Wifey, and that's it. All the rest is gone. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Topic, idea, logic in Islam. Surah Abu, what is 822? 822. Kill all the unbelievers. Now, what was 822? I don't remember 822.
822.
I don't remember 822 from the top of my head. I'm not a Hafiz, unfortunately. I can go here, go into here, and now I need to enter 8.22. The worst of creatures in the eyes of, The worst of creatures in the eyes of God are those who are deaf, dumb, and avoid sense. But the problem is there are worse, because the worst creatures are actually the non-believers who are worse than the cattle and the beast. So that is even heavier. So yeah, is it logical? I mean, this is why I started my logic series, and this is one of them, where I will say exactly if a God wants you to believe it exists and then makes you deaf, dumb, and blind, how the hell can you do that? So your God is creating you as somebody, and he knew this in advance. This is the whole logical breakdown here, where it's totally illogical, because a God creates you knowing full well that you are going to be deaf, dumb, and blind and unable to even understand the concept of God. He creates you anyway and then punishes you for his own incompetence. So that's the logics there. Yeah. If you have anything else in logics, absolutely go ahead. But I am doing an entire series at the moment on logic. So I've collected, I don't know how many pages of stuff. I think there's like, I don't know, 80, 90 videos coming up on this topic. Hi guys. Oh dear, Hamzat sources is at it again. Yeah, this is and I used a mixture which I didn't even know, that Britney Spears stole or is covering the song from Louis Armstrong. Oops, he did it again. And Britney Spears, I didn't know that this is an old version, and I used Louis Armstrong, a mixture between Louis and Britney. IERA, my favorite mental institution, absolutely. IERA is what the Islamic, is it European Research Academy, something. And I always say no, there's no research, there's no academy, and it's not even Islam. I mean, Hamza got criticized by Islam, by Muslims, by Muslim scholars who said this guy doesn't even know anything about Islam. If I say Islam says gay people should be killed, for example, all these moderate apologists call me Islamophobe. Of course, this is the only thing that they can say, because they will not admit to this in today's modern day and age. I mean, for 1,000 years, they would have said, yes, absolutely. This is what should happen to gays. And this is what I did in my last video. I showed this also as a quote, how people, oh no, this was in the German one. I showed this as a quote, what should happen according to, I think it was it Maududi or Ibn Abbas? I can't remember who actually, he was the author. He came up with this idea that people should be thrown off a rooftop. So how can you have the people say this today, that yes, gays should be chucked off a rooftop? This is the thing that is killing Christianity, because they also have this thing, and now that gaiety is acceptable, they can't very well say, no, you should be killed and stoned and blah, blah, blah. So this is killing Christianity. I love Stas when he insults Sorters and Era. No, I'm not insulting. Do they feel insulted by what I say? No. IKEA, more fabrication. Some assembly required. But then when Muslims say the same exact thing, they support are never challenged. This is the whole point. Why do you think so many people get their channels closed down, but you rarely hear of Muslim channels getting closed down? Except if a girl has a channel closed down or demonetized, then she goes off and kills people. Yeah, that's the way it works. When I tell liberals about Islam, they agree, but they don't care. Well, some do, but they get it all wrong. Because of this thing, they have this guilt complex about the Jews. And this is why Muslims are actually quite clever in the propaganda, in sort of making themselves look like Christians and Jews, and then immediately bringing out the Jew card when anything happens. Yeah, would you do this to a Jew? And I said, look, Jews didn't behave the way that you did as a whole, as a general, as a group. And I'm very sorry if a group behaves like that. I will treat them differently. I'm sorry. And then some Muslims will suffer who decide to follow a group that is committing all these atrocities. It's not that anyone is forced to be a Muslim. You can go today. I mean, obviously not if you're in Bangladesh or Pakistan, but I'm talking about the people who are outside of Muslim majority countries. There, nobody is forcing them to be a Muslim, and definitely no one is forcing the people to convert to Islam. So me with my old stories, yeah, I go into my childhood and things like that. Grandpa talking about the war, yeah, is it good entertainment? So I think I'd never get tired of talking about sorts. Discuss mountains with peas and miles, the Quran with crowds. Yeah, exactly. There's well, this was in Ireland when Adnan Rashid. I mean, he was sick. I mean, I never know who's more stupid, this Ali Dawa or Adnan Rashid. When he came with sources to Ireland, on this is always so terrible because they're taking zakat money and then like give what they say giving dawa, for example, to Muslims in where was it, in Bahrain. It just so happened that it was during the Formula One race. And then, of course, they're using this money to travel all over the show. They went to Brazil. I just happened to be the World Football Championship there. But that's the way that the cookie crumbles. And they're using money to go to Ireland. They confront Professor Dawkins and Professor Myers. And then immediately when sources realized that Myers knew what he was talking about, he suddenly wanted to talk about mountains with Professor Myers. Exactly what Rafa is saying. This is... It's so funny what they did. But then Maya stayed on topic, and then Rashid did this this classic, which I also went to put into a video. This well, the Quran says that immediately after that, the flesh clothes the bones, and then Maya proves that this is wrong and says exactly that's what the Quran says. It's simultaneously. It's simultaneously. That's exactly what the Quran says. This is Rashid. You should do a weekly rundown of what's happening in the Muslim world, i.e. the bomb shooting. Yeah, that's what we used to do. We always did the news, and then people complained, like we did the crazy comments, and people said, make crazy comments, and then people said, nah, they're actually boring. So if you want the news, we can do that. I mean, it takes me 15 minutes to just sort of peruse this and then bring it here. No problem. We can do that. We can make a segment again. I was making fun of Source for saying his actually matters more. Yeah, exactly. This is the... Doesn't have a backup. I suppose Stops doesn't have a backup. I have. Well, I've made, I don't know how many, 300-400 videos. I don't know how many. So you can't do a backup. I made a backup. I started making, re-uploading everything to Imam Brother, Imam Father, blah, blah, blah. And then they got closed down. So does it really make sense to load up, to load back, upload the old stuff?
It makes sense. You can upload to BitChute.
Well, what I'm doing is all my stuff is on the Internet Archive on archive.org. Okay, but it's not as easily accessible, and you can make comments, but it's not the same thing. It's not this. So
no. But if YouTube, if you like put a lot of effort into a video and YouTube takes it down. If you can,
it's still there. It's available because it's more difficult to get the stuff thrown off archive than it is on YouTube. Like now, my Vimeo channel, because I started making a backup on Vimeo, but it was shut down because Vimeo told me no, your community guidelines and blah blah. And that's the way it goes. Vimeo, a lot of Muslim apologists can't handle that.
But as I said, I don't think. If you upload on BitChute, I don't think they can do anything about it.
Well, what I'm doing now is I'm putting it onto DTube because I don't know BitChute. Because I'm putting it on archive. Okay, so there it's a backup, and I think there it's safe, so I'm okay. And I keep everything here, so I have backups, so I can always upload it again.
DTube, I haven't tested that. Is that good?
Well, I've just uploaded my first video there because this is new. The huge advantage is that nothing is kept on site, so there are no community guidelines. All that you do, if you like put porn or something up there, please mark it as porn. But other than that, they don't seem to have many restrictions, so people can't easily knock you down. The huge disadvantage is that it is the worst interface I have ever come across in my life. Really, because you need to open a Steemit account, and then you get a, I don't know, 58-digit long code, which you need to save somewhere. It's not 58, I'm exaggerating. It's maybe 18 or something. But this you need, so you need to open a Steemit account to go to DTube. Then in DTube, you need to register using this. And then in DTube, you need to then go, and I still haven't worked out, I don't even remember how I managed to upload this one video. It's horrible.
But BitChute ain't that complicated. BitChute is much easier. I don't think they can take that down.
So maybe I should look at that as well. Dawn of Head pro kafir, yeah, kafirophobia. Doesn't Allah also harden hearts according to, yes, harden them to Islam logic? Well, harden them to logic, which to them is the logic that, of course, you need to appreciate that your mother can't give birth to herself, so there must be a God. You know, that's the logic. And if a God hardens your heart, you can't live because your heart can't pump blood. So I don't know what the point is of hardening heart. Please never stop with defeating Islamic propaganda. Yes, I'm sometimes getting tired of this because, you know, every time I do something, every time you come up and you feel, aha, now I'm slowly starting to make a difference. That's when they close you down. And I mean, this is where it was really serious, was with 1001 Inventions, because they were really going moggy. They were having now the exhibitions. They were having it in Rotterdam, I think it was, or Den Haag or something. And now they were starting to work with the United Nations, with UNICEF. And that's when I got serious. And I went to UNICEF and I said, listen, guys, do you know what you are letting yourself in for? And I got in touch with somebody at UNICEF and I said, listen, I'm not a troll or something. I'm somebody who's genuinely concerned, and I'm not going to do blah, blah, blah. And I told them what is happening. And then they looked into this, and then 1001 Inventions got so angry. They closed down the Jinn&Tonic show. They closed down the my private account, the Stop Spamming account, the Stop Spamming one, which had millions and millions of views. I mean, one video alone had 3 million views. And they closed everything down. And they were so furious. And apparently, and this I was given this information by somebody there who said what they were using is one of these closed user groups in Facebook, where you donate 10,000 euros and they develop a script and they pass it on to everybody and they tell everybody, okay, use your accounts. This is the script that you follow. Click on this, do this, go to the left arrow, then click this, then click this. And I was gone within like a week. So, and that's when you get tired after a while. Okay, can we have some quality atheists like Ozzy chat with a quality Muslim like maybe Abdullah Kiburi? I don't think so. I have not seen this. I have not seen a Muslim go head to head with somebody who knows Islam or who knows what they're talking about. I mean, the last time a Christian tried that was William Lane Craig, who was really good. I mean, he even made some points against Sam Harris, which I didn't think at the time was possible, but he did. And he was completely annihilated by Professor Carroll. And this is why they don't normally do that. Muslims have smartened up 10 years ago, Is there anything else? Islam invented skinny jeans. What stops channel? Well, I actually hesitate to say this because at the moment I've only got, I think, three or four left in English speaking. The one is the Speaker's Corner Analyzed, and the other one is the Quran Claims Reality one. Then I still have Stop Spamming 2, and I have one or two other ones. Did you see Phil debate Muslims on fine tuning? Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, It's like sometimes the way he rolls his eyes, but he stays very polite, stays on track, stays calm, everything. I don't know how he does that.
Yes.
Okay, are we done for today? Okay, what have you got there? Tell us.
You're talking to me.
No, I'm talking to you.
To me?
Are you talking to me?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Is this thing that you recommend where people go?
Yes. I think BitChute seems to be one of the better alternatives. I think also BitChute probably going to be one of the. I mean, these alternative platforms are like in the cradle, so to speak. So, but I think BitChute is one of the more promising.
But is this also one where everything is offline?
Everything is offline. What do you mean?
Well, in the DTube, there is nothing that they keep on their server, so you can't go and say I want this down because they can't delete anything.
Do you know what BitTorrent is?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if I can explain it, but they are using some they are using some kind of BitTorrent. So
this is very similar to what DTube is doing. Yeah.
I remember Ike sent me a link to DTube, but I don't remember how they do it.
Jinn&Tonic show, do you think Islam would be dead if it wasn't for oil? Oh, absolutely. That's the only thing that kept them alive. And now it should be interesting because now it's gone. And we can see already that it's going down because they don't know how to finance all the what you call it, the different mosques. What is a ute? Ute is a bakkie, is a utility vehicle. Hard and one hard is a matter for making unreceptive close to something, just in case you were joking. Well, yes, I was joking. Which should you YouTube? Well, the thing is, YouTube, the strength of YouTube is actually the social aspect. And this, I think, is a problem where the companies are not able to reproduce the social aspect. Abu, do you agree with Yusuf Kadawi that
Nah.
alive wouldn't be
About
alive?
YouTube, I think YouTube was the first, so that's why they still the dominant. And also YouTube have a lot of, or Google have so many resources, so YouTube have made it so like neat and user friendly. So that I think is the main two reasons. When platforms like BitChute become as kind of user friendly, I think they are kind of user friendly. But when they have as good a search engine and things like that, and when enough people move to BitChute or some other platform, then I think it will change. But that's the problem with all these companies, that since they were the first, they have like a competitive advantage.
Well, I think the search in YouTube is atrociously bad.
The search engine in YouTube.
Yeah. Because I mean, try looking for one of like if I look for my video now, I will never find it. Like Gabby is asking me, okay, what's my channel? So if I go look on my computer, obviously it will find it because it's
but BitChute doesn't they? I think, but yeah, I'm not saying that it's perfect, but
okay. Speakers Corner analyzed, and I'm the first one there. So this is the one which. What? I have 400 subscribers. Wow! This channel doesn't have any content. Wow! Excuse me? Have they closed it down? Oh, no, the videos. There's the video. Okay, let me go to the Speakers Corner analyzed. Oh, I don't feature anything. Oh, maybe I should. Copy. Here we go. In the chat, this is my channel. I will only do one of them, okay? Because Imam's sister, Imam's son, all these other ones, they will pop up when you go there. Abu, do you agree with Yusuf Kadawi that without apostasy laws, Islam wouldn't be alive today?
That is one of these kind of what if questions. It's not possible to test it, but I think in general, if you look at the religions that are successful, they tend to have some kind of force behind them. This is why I quote this Machiavelli quote all the time, that all armed prophets have conquered and all unarmed prophets have failed. And then some people will say, yeah, but Jesus wasn't armed. Yes, he wasn't armed, but look how in the beginning Christianity was just a small obscure sect, but while they got the might of the Roman Empire behind them, then you have the result. So I think, I'm not sure if apostasy laws is maybe not only the apostasy laws, but the fact that Islam has the might of the sword, or political power and force behind it, is one of the reasons why it became a world religion. And while, for example, Zionism didn't, or what's it called? The Jainism didn't become world religion. Then you can ask, okay, but why did Buddhism? But Buddhism had it wasn't that big of a religion before King Ashoka, and then King Ashoka converted to Buddhism, and then because he had one of the greatest empire probably of that day, then Buddhism became a world religion. So I think in general you need to have this political force behind it and political power behind it. You understand?
Yep. The question is, did the person who asked the question understand it?
Yeah, I know I didn't answer exactly the apostasy laws.
Okay, I maintain
it's very
absolutely. I think 50% of the reason why Islam is alive today is due to the fact that there is this strict, well, it's not a strict punishment, it's the threat. It is being seen, it is being marketed as a huge sin to leave, and it is seen as treason, because we need to remember all the time that Islam is a political ideology, number one. Then the rest is all secondary. The whole spirituality is secondary to the political side, and this is something that we need to remember all the time. And this is why actually I don't know if you've seen the Islamophobia exists if, and then da 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 da. One of the things was, if you say it's a political ideology, then this is Islamophobic. Because they hate it, they don't like it. Because that's the way that it is. I mean, if I look at the way that the Quran is written, it's always about the interaction between people, and that is for me politics. So, and that apostasy is being taken seriously because it's against the ummah, it's against the state, it's against the nation of Islam. And this is why people are told that this is like really terrible to do this, and this is, if you do this you get killed, and that's the... Okay, that's it. Anything, last things? Then I have only one thing to do and one thing left, and that is I have prepared a bit of a surprise. Let's see if I can do that. I need to go here. I need to go here. Let's see if this works. There we go. Do you know this guy? Ike will know him. I don't know if he's still here.
Yeah, that's a classic one.
But now the problem is, where do I bloody well start? Here.
MashaAllah. I can continue my Quran recitation maybe. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون.
Can't you hear what he's saying?
No.
Oh, he's reciting a hadith.
Yeah, but you have to plug in the sound.
I did. Oh, fuck. Okay, then I need to do... This was the whole point. Can you hear him now?
No.
No?
No. But I'm very impressed with the animation.
Yeah, but the point is that he's supposed to be speaking, and he is speaking. I can hear him speaking. I can see him in the system speaking.
We can't hear it.
Why can I hear everything here, but I can't hear him speaking here? Unbelievable.
Because it's not plugged into the Hangout stream.
It is. I've got system sound. And here in the settings, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't have the here. Okay, let's try it last time.
It was narrated by Ibn Jarir, narrated by Ibn Hamid.
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Narrated by Atta, narrated by Abu Dalhi, narrated by Ibn Abbas, who stated, "The first thing my Lord created, may he be exalted and glorified, was the pen. And he said to it, write. So the pen wrote all that will be until Judgment Day. Then Allah created the Nun, the whale, above the waters, and he pressed the earth into its back."
MashaAllah.
There you go. Okay, so I just learned what I need to do for next time so that it works. Allah hardens the ears of the unbelievers. There you go. Okay, how do you like the echo? There was not supposed to be an echo.
I think there was some kind of double. What did you do? Did you do how did you do it?
How did I do what?
How did you plug in the sound?
No, this is okay. What I did was I took the photo that Ike made for me, and then there's a program where you can actually put audio in the background, and then it will animate it.
Yeah, but how did you plug it into the Hangout?
And that's it. And then what I did now is I said the source in the Hangout is not the microphone, but the source in the Hangout is actually Minicam. And in Minicam, I said, please activate the system sound so I can hear what is going on.
But it was not an echo from the beginning.
Okay, this I don't know. I did not do it on purpose. If the echo was great, well, brilliant. I have no idea how it worked. It must have been double because in my attempt to switch everything on, I activated everything possible. So it could be that I got it twice.
But it was impressing anyway. I think the echo.
Good. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for your participation. And if anybody has any suggestions for a topic, please come forward for next week, because I was trying to get somebody, a special guest, an ex-Muslim who also doesn't know the Quran by heart, on the show. But unfortunately, this did not work. So maybe we can do it next week. And no, there's not going to be any sound effects and light effects and things. But if anybody does have a topic, always welcome. And always grateful for suggestions. And if anybody has anything, then come forward. Abu, thank you very much. Rob,
thank you.
We sorely missed you. Sorry, man, that you had to be on the road. We'll see you again next Friday. And we'll see you next week. Cheery, bye. Thank you.
Cheers.